The Toronto Blue Jays get their 11th straight home win, which is a franchise record. And you know what makes it even better? That it was against the New York Yankees.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As always, I'm Brayden Iwasko. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Brayden5 Iwasko. Carter First, too, as well on our main page at Locked On Jays. And if you haven't already checked out our Instagram and our TikTok, you can follow us on there at Locked On Blue Jays. And if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, hit that because you guys have been killing it lately. We want to keep bringing in more fans of the Jays, have more people to talk with. We got a live stream coming up tomorrow night, or as you guys are watching this tonight, I guess, it was the Tuesday game. We will be doing the 999 challenge. It'll be a blast. Come join us. Come down. If you want to have hot dogs, good on you. It might be a tough look for the boys. But hit that subscribe button on the YouTube page. It really does make all the difference. You get your podcast, your live streams, your shorts, the videos, whatever it may be. It helps us out, and you guys get all the content there. A lot to get into on today's episode, talking about the franchise record 11 straight home win that happened, the game in general, sort of what the AL East is looking like, and we want to let you guys know about what's going on with the Blue Jays draft picks, how many were signed, how many have not yet. We'll talk about all that coming up in the show. But Carter, my man, I want to start it here. The atmosphere at Rogers Center, I want to bring up the drone shots as well, but just the whole atmosphere, the fan base right now, I think is absolutely over the moon. I think people's expectations of what this team is going to do, how this trade deadline is going to be, there is a different feeling among Canadians. I was going to say Toronto, but it's honestly all of Canadians, all of Blue Jays fandom, if you want to call it Blue Jays land, well, there you go. It feels good again. It feels good to be playing what feels like meaningful baseball again.
Yeah, it feels like meaningful baseball, and it is meaningful baseball because this is one of the biggest series of the year against the New York Yankees. The team is already one game away. If they win today's game of the day this podcast comes out, they officially won the season series against the New York Yankees. We know how big that can be to have those tiebreakers, especially against those AL East opponents. Just continuing on, trudging down the track here, taking advantage of the New York Yankees and their defensive woes. That's one thing that stuck out to me, obviously, in this game is that defense maybe does matter a little bit. And we've been very lucky as Toronto Blue Jays fans to have one of the best defenses in all baseball for the last few years. But one thing that comes to the defense that I don't really care how good your defense is if you can't score runs. And that's the biggest difference this year. The Toronto Blue Jays offense has shown that they can consistently score runs against the best of the best in their pitchers as well. Carlos Rodon didn't have the best command today, but they noticed that the Toronto Blue Jays not striking out a ton. They don't chase too much either. So that worked into their favor as well. Just another great game by the Toronto Blue Jays and 4 games up in the AL East and getting closer and closer to taking over first place, not only in the AL East, but in the American League.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the goal, what the goal has to be now, right? The goalposts have moved from the beginning of the season where it's like, oh, can this team just be better? Can they give us watchable baseball to then, oh, can they make the playoffs? Oh, can they win the AL East? And now we're having the conversation of can this team not only win the AL East, but compete for the AL title, Carter? This has moved so drastically from where we were last season. I am absolutely over the moon. We actually had one of our buddies that everybody's seen on the podcast, if you've been watching for a little bit now, Tristan Baranowski down in Toronto. He went to the game, got the Jeff Hoffman bobblehead, and he couldn't stop telling us about what the atmosphere felt like and just the different buzz around the ballpark. This game was exceptional. I mean, from the pitching, we guess we got to start there. Kevin Gausman, we were in the car on our way to our baseball game. It got canceled, so we made it like halfway there before it did. But we're watching the game. I got it on my phone. You're sort of peeking over as you're driving. And you sort of mentioned that, Kevin Gausman only hitting 93, but just the way he was able to, it was sort of a weird day for him. He would hit 93, but then in 2 strike counts, he would almost cook the fastball up and he would throw and hit 96, 97. And you're like, that sort of helped him beat guys with the amount of fastballs Kevin Gausman threw. And I think the different speeds in the variations of the fastball he threw was super interesting to me today. I don't know if that was on purpose or that's just what he was getting out of it, but man, it sort of worked.
Yeah, it was, he almost had two different pitches at times. He maxed out at 96.9 on the fastball, had a minimum of 90.5. So that is a massive difference in your fastball at 6.4 miles per hour difference. And it kind of like you're right. I think it was a lot of the scenario-based stuff that it was earlier on in the count, maybe trying to focus a little bit more on command, just throwing the ball on the block, which Kevin Gausman, when he commands the fastball, is unbelievable. We'll kind of continue on as we talk about Kevin Gausman with how efficiently he did use that fastball. But like you said, as soon as there was a big moment, whether it was Aaron Judge at the plate, whether it was a 2-strike count, whether maybe there was runners on and he needed a big pitch, it seemed like he reared back for that little bit extra. And that's when he was hitting his 95, his 96, his 97. One at-bat specifically that I quickly want to talk about here is Aaron Judge in that 5th inning. Is that Kevin Gausman, you really saw it with the command and the fastball there, really trying to throw it on the outside part of the plate. Looked like Aaron Judge was late on that fastball, sitting on that splitter, waiting for that off-speed pitch. Kevin Gausman obviously noticed that and was doing a very good job at putting that fastball on the back corner of the plate. Then comes in with the splitter. You see Aaron Judge pop up. So just the command that Kevin Gausman has displayed with his fastball made him just so efficient and so just great in this outing. 63 fastballs on 86 pitches. That is 73% of the time. The Yankees are a very good fastball hitting team, so probably not expecting Kevin Gausman to overload them with the fastball. And you kind of have to, are playing a little, playing with fire just a little bit when you do throw that many fastballs to the New York Yankees. But like I said, if you are looking at that fastball, it can be one of the best pitches in all of baseball. You know, throwing the hard stuff, especially when it is not over the middle of the plate. So shout out to Kevin Gausman for not only, just controlling that fastball and being efficient, but eating up some innings, especially when you have 14 games in 13 days, especially when you're playing the team that's right behind you in the AL East. It was such a big start from Kevin Gausman, and nice to see that vintage Kevin Gausman that we've seen glimpses of from time to time this year. We just really need him to be consistent, especially down this back stretch and into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think there's something that goes on in these pitchers' heads or just these players in general. I think they can feel how important these games are too, right? Like you see Vladdy sliding it at home, and just the emotion on his face. We saw there was a tweet that went out, and I think it was from, her name was Maddie, and she had the video of Bichette when he hit the double on second to drive in those 2 runs, and just the excitement and Bichette being fired up. You're like, man, these guys really do come alive around these series, around the New York Yankees, when they are fighting, when they are battling and trying to claw their way to first place in the AL. But just going back to Kevin Gausman, Carter, before we talk about sort of the runs and the situation and everything like that, this is a guy that throws his fastball 55% of the time, but you're right, hitting upwards of 70% of fastballs in this game. It was a little bit crazy to watch. There was one at bat, I think it was the Judge at bat, where he threw like 8 fastballs. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that was the 5th inning.
Yeah, and it was just nuts. And I think what goes along with that, and when we talk about Paul Goldschmidt, he was a guy that couldn't really get on Kevin Gausman's fastball today. And I think what that goes back to is, you know, Goldschmidt may have gotten onto the 93, the 92s, and then Kevin Gausman would reach back and throw the 97. And all of a sudden it's, wow, I really can't catch up. And it's just, it's changing the timing for all of these hitters. So again, who knows if that was, that he meant to do that, or sometimes you just get a little bit more out of a pitch. But man, it really works when you can control not only the command of the pitch, but also the varying speeds of the same pitch. It's very hard to do anything solid off of that. So yeah, great day from Kevin Gausman. Carter, I don't know if you want to just go through the pitching before we really get into the offense, or if you just want to go through the game. I'll sort of leave it up to you, because I know you have to spend some time on Gausman with the outing that he put up.
Yeah, I think Kevin Gausman would be like our star of the game here. There are a lot of other guys that obviously contributed to that as well, like Jeff Hoffman. I think we'll have a bigger conversation about him as well. But I kind of want to go into the hitting aspect of it. And what I really want to start with, actually, is a guy that I think has been one of the more underrated players on the Toronto Blue Jays, especially with some of the injuries that we have had. But I love when players play baseball this way. And it's Myles Straw, just maximum effort all the time when this guy is playing on the baseball field, especially with Daulton Varsho being out, having a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. Like, we're just so blessed to have 2. You have Daulton Varsho, who could be a platinum glover. Then you have Myles Straw, who can definitely provide that Gold Glover caliber defense as well. And just what we saw in the 5th inning, those effort plays, that the Yankees obviously kind of helping us out a little bit, shooting themselves in the foot. But Peraza gets a ground ball at third base. He looks up and he sees Myles Straw is hustling down the first base base line. He's absolutely flying. Probably rushed that throw a little bit, throws it up that first base line. That scores a run. Then you have Leo Jimenez rolls over to Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe just, I love when the Yankees play the Blue Jays just because Anthony Volpe does something dumb literally every single series and is one of the funniest things of all time. Again, just not a very good throw to first base. But Miles Straw at second there, he's hustling around third base. And if it's a lot of other players in the MLB, they're probably just casually jogging to third. And, they kind of roll over to shortstop. You're like, you're thinking it's probably nothing's going to happen here. It's just going to be an out at first base, and that's going to be the end of the inning. No, Miles Straw doesn't care about that. He's going hard around third base, and then he scores the 4th run of the baseball game and giving the Toronto Blue Jays just that little bit of an extra cushion that you absolutely love to see. So Miles Straw, that trade when it happened, not a lot of people were happy about it. We weren't really happy about it. We saw the big picture behind it. But looking at it in 2020, like hindsight right now, Miles Straw has been so important to this baseball team, and it's just a pleasure to watch when he does get the opportunity to play.
Yeah, he really has been. And that's what I love when guys are like that, when they bring that. And I think it's all around the team right now. You're seeing a lot of guys doing a little bit more because they are so invested in every single game. But Miles Straw specifically, I mean, those 2 plays, that shows you what kind of player he is. But then going not to just his offensive side of the ball, but his defensive side of the ball. And there's been a few times this has happened with Straw where he's done little jukes in the outfield to pause runners. And I think the ability and the knowledge that, hey, he is a good fielder, he's going to make that play, but then also thinking about, okay, how can I hold this runner at second base and not allowing him to move to third? And little plays like that, when you have very solid fielders, just could make the difference in like 1, 2, 3 run ball games. So hat tip to Miles Straw. I can't remember exactly what inning it was in, but he fakes it out like he's sort of going to camp out of the ball, but instead he sort of gears up and that holds the runner at second base. So yeah, Miles Straw really has done a great deal for this team in the absence of Daulton Varsho.
And here's another thing that I did want to talk about as well. You're definitely going to like to have this conversation. It's the Davis Schneider at bat as well. We saw Nathan Lucas have a 14 pitch at bat earlier on in this year. Davis Schneider doing his best Nathan Lucas impression. When you look at the difference between these 2 players, it kind of makes sense for Nathan Lucas, more of a contact hitter. They both know the strike zone pretty well, but Nathan Lucas traditionally better bat to ball skills. But Davis Schneider just was on everything Carlos Rodon was throwing and doesn't get a base hit out of it. I just wanted to ask you this: do you think that at bat, just Davis Schneider fouling off pitch after pitch after pitch, especially with the Yankees just not being very good at defense in totality, and just how long that inning was for Carlos Rodon, do you think Davis Schneider's at bat and just maybe catching the Yankees sleeping because it was such a long at bat, do you think that had anything to do with the plethora of errors that we did see after that Davis Schneider at bat?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to give hat tips. I mean, the players gave Davis Schneider a bunch of credit.
George Springer was fired up in the dugout.
Fired up. And not only him, but Carlos Rodon gives him a hat tip as well as he's, when that play ends. But what goes into that inning, Davis Schneider not only tires out Carlos Rodon for the next couple batters, but yeah, as a fielder, you being on the field that long and sort of being out of the game, you're sitting there watching 14 pitches before the next batter even comes to the plate. So it's not just tiring out the pitcher. It's also, taking the fielders out of the game. And you see that. I mean, when the confidence of a team, I don't want to even say confidence of the team, but when an inning continues to move on, I mean, Carter, you've played baseball in those long innings where guys just continually walk guys or, whatever it does. You could be sitting in the outfield picking dandelions, right? So as a infielder, you got to be ready. And I think as Yankees fans, you want those guys to be engaged in the game to be able to make those plays. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes baseball is baseball. And in those situations, you got to give a lot of credit to Davis Schneider. He fouls off 9 balls in that at bat. Carter, by swing 5, swing 6, you're already starting to feel your arms be tired. They're starting to be jello. By pitch 9, and you have swung at 9 balls. I mean, your arms are jello. Like, you got nothing left. For him to even make contact with that last ball and put it in play and keep that moving, that just shows how, I guess, in great shape that Davis Schneider's in. That is a ton of pitches to be swinging at. So huge hat tips to him. And you know what? Great job for the guys behind him getting the job done in that inning, because, it very well could have gone the other way where those guys maybe don't put something in play. They swing out of their shoes at something, strike out, and those plays don't have the ability to happen. So not only Davis Schneider, but the bottom of the order in general there, you got to give some hat tips as well.
Just going to the exact same narrative that we say literally every single podcast, because it happens every single podcast. It's not just two guys carrying this baseball team. It's 1 through 9. You could even expand that farther. You can include a ton of AAA guys that have come in from the Bisons and play for this baseball team. I mean, Joey Loperfido is hitting like 400 right now for the Blue Jays. Again, very small sample size, but that's a guy who didn't play many games with the Toronto Blue Jays this year whatsoever. Came up after being in AAA for a long time and had an immediate impact. It seems like whoever the Toronto Blue Jays do call on, they are being successful in the moments that they do have an opportunity to play in these games. But the fifth inning was the big inning for the Toronto Blue Jays, scoring 4 runs again in an inning. It seems like they've had a ton of these chunk innings, especially recently against a lot of their opponents. And like we said, big stretch for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's just so much better, especially when you're playing an AL East opponent, to be absolutely taking advantage of the AL East. And I want to kind of start the second segment off with what the Toronto Blue Jays have done against the AL East this season, but we are going to take a short break and be coming back to you guys with that after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You guys know how much I love FanDuel because I talk about it all the time. It's my number one place where I place my bets. Summer sports in full swing, whether you're all about baseball, under the lights, golf on the greens, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. When me and the boys are sitting around on the couch watching, Jays game, if it's in the NHL season and we're watching Jets or Canucks hockey, whatever it may be, Panthers football in Carter's sakes, Vikings in mine. It's always makes the games even that much more when, all the boys place bets together or something. We're all riding on the same thing. It makes it so much more fun. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets with your first $5 bet wins. Make sure you do win that first one. It needs to win. That's how you get the $150 in bonus bets. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today's episode brought to you by Farm to Fork, one of my favorites, because they have a special place in my heart. It all goes back to a big thank you to Locked On Sens, Ross Levitan. And if you're a fan of premium, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got some exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more, all with no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes fresh, flash, frozen, and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms, so when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian. That's so big right now, so make sure you guys go to Farm to Fork and place your orders. Ross had us out, me and Carter. We were watching some hockey at the time, and he's like, hey, you guys got to try this Farm to Fork. It's unbelievable. So he cooks them up for us. It was unbelievable. I can't stress enough to go and check them out. I've got a special code just for you. Use code LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at Farm to Fork. Visit farm2forkdelivery.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 for $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door. So, Carter, continuing on, we want to talk about the rest of the game too, but I know you wanted to kick things off in this second segment with just how the Blue Jays have done against the AL East.
Yeah, so when we talk about the AL East with the 4 teams that the Toronto Blue Jays do have to play, I kind of have to exclude one of these teams because if you guys remember how the series has gone against them, and just honestly in Blue Jays history, they don't play the Rays well whatsoever. So we're kind of have to take the Rays out of this equation because they're 1-5 against the Rays this year. Not great whatsoever. But luckily for the Jays, especially recently, other teams have kind of been helping them out a little bit, beating the Rays up so the Toronto Blue Jays don't have to. But especially with the 2 teams that are behind you right now directly in the standings, being the New York Yankees, being the Boston Red Sox, especially with the New York Yankees, their fans, talking Yanks, John Boy, everyone that is Yankees fans all over social media that we are saying the Toronto Blue Jays have a mid-pitching staff. They have a mid-lineup. How are they winning baseball games? Well, they're beating your team. They're beating your team pretty handily and very often. 6-2 against the New York Yankees this season. That is going to be a massive thing down the stretch. For the Blue Jays, they are 3-3 against the Baltimore Orioles. Kind of played them a little bit weird. One of those series was the opening one of the year. So that was the 4-game set, and they had the 2, obviously, with a 4-gamer coming up actually in a couple weeks against the Orioles, but 7-3 against the Boston Red Sox as well. We saw in 2024 how the Toronto Blue Jays struggled immensely against the AL East. And those games mean so much more because not only are you guaranteeing yourself a win, obviously, against a divisional opponent, but you're guaranteeing them a loss as well. We talk about tiebreakers. That is a massive thing here as well. So in totality, here in 2025, so far, the Toronto Blue Jays are 17-13 against the AL East opponents. So they're winning more games than they are losing. And a lot of the games that they are winning are pretty dominating wins. They're not just squeaking wins out, especially against the Red Sox and the Yankees over these last couple series that they have played. So yeah, shout out to the Blue Jays for one of many things that has been a whole lot better this year than it was in 2024. But it is very hard to nitpick the Toronto Blue Jays and find things that they aren't doing very well right now, whether it's the base running, whether it's just the swing decisions. I guess like the pitching's a little bit different, especially with the starting rotation, but offensively right now, just firing on all cylinders. They've been doing it for a very long time.
Yeah, Carter, I think, one of my worries coming out of the All-Star break had to have been, can the Blue Jays keep up their ways, right? And I wasn't sure. I thought, yeah, it looks like they have the ability, but we've seen teams go on stretches and be good, and then, a break happens or an off day, and sort of things go back to what you sort of originally thought. But coming out of the All-Star break, Toronto Blue Jays haven't lost. So it's pretty tough to say anything but that this team obviously is proving everybody wrong, that they're not just a hot streak or a cold streak away from coming back down to earth. This just might be the Toronto Blue Jays of 2025. And that is, I think, the big thing. And you know what, Carter? They proved us wrong a long time ago with what necessarily we had pictured for this team. I mean, I think I had them at 89 wins at the end of the year, but I mean, who knows? Who knows what this team might be at by the end? They have been playing excellent baseball. And yeah, especially against the AL East, you have to do well because those are the games and those are the teams that you play the most against and the teams that matter for standings wise too, right? So if you can lead the AL East and take one of those, top spots in the AL, that's going to matter so much more going into playoffs. We've seen this team struggle in a wild card spot before. So if they can avoid that entirely, that could be a huge push for this team. So I'm really excited to see what this brings moving forward. But Carter, I did want to go back a little bit. I know we talked a little bit about the offense, but I did want to talk a little bit more about the pitching staff. Jeff Hoffman, bobblehead night. I want to get into him a little bit. But first, talking about Brendan Little, this is the first time in a while that I've seen Brendan Little sort of struggle. I don't know. He didn't have his best stuff. His curveball still looked good, but it just didn't seem to be spot on today. And the good thing about having a guy like Yariel Rodriguez ready to go is he can come in and get the job done. And that's exactly what he does, being able to hand the keys back off to Jeff Hoffman for that ninth inning, Carter.
Yeah, it just seemed like the Yankees had a pretty good game plan against him. Were able to lay off that knuckle curve. Wasn't necessarily getting the chase that he normally does. And kind of did it a little bit backwards. Brendan Little is good against lefties and righties, but he doesn't get the lefties, but he gets Aaron Judge, the only right-handed hitter that he does face. Well, that is the luxury that you do have when you got three guys right now in your bullpen that are absolutely rock solid. The fourth one in Yimi Garcia, which is a little bit more up in the air, especially whenever he is able to come back, which seeming like it is going to be farther and farther down the timeline. But you have Yariel Rodriguez or Brendan Little for your kind of setup role right now, or the seventh or eighth inning, or you use them both in the scenario when Brendan Little doesn't necessarily have his best stuff. You throw Yariel Rodriguez in there. Doesn't make a great pitch to Stanton, but absolutely jams the hell out of Jason Dominguez. Horrible swing from him. A little bit of a rollover to second base for the easy out. So, you just have that luxury to go to a lot of your bullpen arms that you can throw in these scenarios and be very confident that they will put up a zero for your team. Like Brendan Little, career year. Yariel Rodriguez, career year. Jeff Hoffman, maybe not a career year, but he's doing it from that closing role up to 24 saves on the season, which is third in the AL. We were both kind of shocked that we saw 99 on the velo gun as well from Jeff Hoffman. That's always going to be a fun thing to see from your closer when they're absolutely letting it eat. But Jeff Hoffman, again, sort of proving the doubters wrong a little bit more so recently, providing a little bit more stability, especially out of the back end of this Toronto Blue Jays bullpen without Yimi Garcia coming back, being delayed a little bit more and more in his timeline. So just a good spot for the Toronto Blue Jays to be in. And like we always talk about with the trade deadline coming up, this bullpen is only going to get better. It's only going to be more stable as we get farther and farther down the road here in this season. But Brayden, is there anything else from the game, at least, that you do want to talk about? Because there are some other topics that we quickly want to get into, but you got anything else from the game?
Not overly. I think it was I just want to end it. It was really nice to see Jeff Hoffman absolutely eat and what he's been able to do lately. So yeah, huge hat tips to him. But Carter, there's a couple things, and I just want to be able to put this on people's radars. We got this from the broadcast, and there was a report that the Toronto Blue Jays have been in talks with Orioles relievers Gregory Soto and Sir Anthony Dominguez. So Again, we'll maybe get into that more so on an upcoming episode. But as all these trade talks and everything do start to come out, we'll keep you guys updated with anything we hear. We're not going to tell you guys about it unless it's from a reliable source. And if it's coming straight from the broadcast, it's a pretty good source. So there you guys go for that one. Also, I just want to give an update on Anthony Santander as well. Santander's shoulder, weeks away from swinging. And that's from John Schneider himself. John Schneider says it shouldn't be the whole season. I am leaning towards that we probably will not see Anthony Santander again this year.
See, and that's the craziest part about the Santander stuff. I said I wanted to go into it on this episode. So now with the updates that we got, I think we have to kind of break it down here. This guy hasn't played since May 29th. And when this did happen, it's an injury that he sustained against the Los Angeles Angels. But it's a shoulder injury from when he ran into the side of like the where the kind of you meet the seats. So he's trying to catch a foul ball where you the bleachers start, hits the bleachers pretty hard. But it takes a couple days off. This is around where the Seattle Mariners series was. He plays a couple games in that series, but has a few days off. They don't put him on the IL. Plays his last game May 29th. Thrown on the 10-day IL initially, and now hasn't picked up a bat. Now still multiple weeks away. Now we're having the conversation, hey, is Anthony Santander even going to come back for this baseball team? And John Schneider was asked, like, hey, Anthony Santander, him playing instead of going on the IL earlier on, was that going to affect his timeline? And John Schneider kind of said, well, it probably didn't help things. And that is just seemed like a very mismanaged way of dealing with the Anthony Santander injury. Not a very good way of going about things, especially for one of those guys that was supposed to be a massive middle of the order hitter for your ball club. And now with Anthony Santander, with the continued uncertainty that we are seeing, now with the question marks of him even making an appearance for the Toronto Blue Jays for the rest of the season, maybe there's more of an inclination now to be even more aggressive at the trade deadline. I think the Toronto Blue Jays will be aggressive. We were mostly focused on the pitching. I think now, if Santander is not going to come back for the foreseeable future, yes, you're getting Varsho back, but I don't think it'd be the worst idea. Maybe to throw in an extra bargaining chip, especially if you're going to be in on a guy like Eugenio Suarez. But just getting another power bat, whether it's from the left side or the right side, you might need a little bit more stability in this lineup if you want fans to feel really good and the coaching staff and the players to feel really good about what this team's going to look like going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think now that we're getting a better look of a timeline here, which is maybe not this season, now my focus is shifting. I think now I'm more in on bringing in more relievers and some high leverage guys that can be really successful. But I think now at this point, you want to add a power bat and you want to add somebody that is going to be an everyday guy. I don't, before I started thinking like bat off the bench, who can you bring in for that to face, lefties specifically? Now I'm thinking, hey, you might need a big dog. And that's not saying that I don't have faith in any of our guys. Obviously, Barger, Springer, Bo, Kirk, Vladdy, Varsho when he's been playing. I mean, I can go up and down this list. These guys have all been excellent. But to make a playoff push at some point, I don't ever think that adding is going to hurt this team. So I think you do what you got to do. If you fully believe that you are a World Series contender, then you got to do what you got to do. And you got to make a move for a guy that's going to come in there and help you get there for sure.
And that's the biggest thing right now is that the narrative isn't as much about, let's just make the playoffs. Now there's a lot bigger of a picture than we anticipated at this point. Like this team has been setting a lot of franchise records recently. I'm not sure if you've been hearing that on the broadcast. Things have been going pretty well in Toronto Blue Jays land. So there should be a sentiment where, hey, it's not just making the playoffs. And it hasn't really been making the playoffs when you're looking at this team in the last few seasons. It just hasn't necessarily gone according to plan. And now here you sit, 18 games above 500 now, 4 games up in your division. This is your time to go all in. It's your time to have no prospects that you are shielding here. Again, you don't want to go out and overpay and make really bad trades necessarily just because you're in a really good spot. You still want to get value for the players that you're trading away. But this is your time that, hey, maybe sprinkle in that little extra bit just so you know you can upgrade this team and land that player that could put this team over the edge. It's not just, again, the wild card series, not just the divisional round. It's who are you going to play in the ALCS? Who are you going to play in the ALDS? Who are you going to play in the World Series if you get there? So you're not just matching up against the Tampa Bay Rays, the Seattle Mariners. You got to start thinking a little bit bigger. The Detroit Tigers, the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Padres, the Chicago Cubs. You can continue on down the list. But you're going to have to play some very good teams, obviously, if you want to win the World Series. So you're going to have to load up for that.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. We're going to have a lot more to have, a lot more time to have conversations about this trade deadline. About, what is it now, 10 days away-ish, 9 days away?
Yeah, it's a week from this Thursday. So I guess that would be, 10 or 9 days, something like that.
So it's coming up quick. We are, we will go live for any big moves that happen. So if, turn on the bell, hit the bell on the YouTube thing, hit the subscribe button so you guys get notified. If we do go live, I am going to try to set it up so that it might be live on the Twitter or the Instagram as well. So you guys can see it sort of wherever you have us turned on, but we'll see how that goes. It will be for sure live on the YouTube page. I will try to upload it afterwards to any of the streaming, the just audio platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, whatever it may be. I'll try to get that up for you guys as well so that, you guys can hear the live stream. But again, then we will obviously talk about it on the podcast the following day as well. So we'll have everything always up to date for you guys. We have the big cast of characters coming back for the trade deadline: Tristan Baranowski, Skylar Peters, Dallin Wilton, John Jay, everybody that helps make this podcast go, on a, month-to-month basis anyway. So we appreciate all those guys. Carter, I think let's take a break. Let's come back. I want to talk a little bit about the draft picks, some of the signings that have happened. I'll hit on some of the big guys and just sort of what we expect from the next two games coming up with the New York Yankees.
Today's episode is sponsored by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plier didn't answer, did you wait? Absolutely not. You called the next one, and that's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. If you juggle two phones just to keep business and personal calls separate, Open Phone solved that for me instantly. As soon as I got on with Locked On, I obviously have some other jobs as well. I like to keep my job separate from my personal life, especially because I was getting a bunch of business calls. I wanted to know if, hey, was it Brayden calling? Was it one of my buddies? Or did I have to dial in and actually be serious on a phone call? Or was it just Brayden asking me, hey, like, what are we going to have for lunch today after we do the podcast? So very nice to make it a little bit easier to, be organized and know exactly who's calling you at what time. So Open Phone is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That is openphone.com/lockedonmlb. If you have an existing phone number with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
So I just want to get into a couple of the draft pick signings, let you guys know sort of what a couple of them signed for. Right now, currently, the Toronto Blue Jays have signed 17 of their 19 picks, so there's only 2 guys left. But I want to talk about the big one. The number 8 overall pick, JoJo Parker, signs with the Blue Jays for $6.2 million. The slot value for number 8 was $6.813 million. So yeah, they got him for underpay, so I guess that's great, even though, again, not my money. I don't really care. But good in that sense. Good to, get these guys signed and make sure that they're with the team. I'm not going to go in on everybody, but I did want to talk about the Canadian third baseman, and I'm going to butcher this name. Tim Picentin? Yeah, that's close enough. He was selected by the Blue Jays, 5th round, signs for above slot value, $750,000. The assigned value for slot 143rd overall is just over $500,000. So they paid him an extra a little bit, and they got JoJo Parker for under. So there you go. At the end of the day, all these picks do end up averaging out to around the slot values and what they would be. But, nice they get a Canadian. Nice that he's signing with the team. Yeah, and a lot more guys have signed. You can go. I'm sure they're out there if you want to look them up. It's not super important. It's not like there's a cap that it affects. It's just, what are these guys paying some of these young kids? So there you go. But Carter, in saying all of that, 2 more games: the Toronto Blue Jays, the New York Yankees, and they're all big, right? When you're talking about these 2 teams and the next series following that up, these are all massive games.
Oh, this is the biggest stretch of the Toronto Blue Jays season. I don't think it's necessarily close, especially now. We didn't necessarily expect the Toronto Blue Jays to be in the running for the American League title, but you have the Detroit Tigers, you have the New York Yankees. The Astros were in here. It'd be the biggest stretch of all time, but you luckily don't have the Astros right now. But when you play an AL East opponent, especially when you play the New York Yankees, for me specifically, I think a lot of Toronto Blue Jays fans are on this fence as well. New York Yankees wins feel the best out of any wins that we can ever get. Like it just there's something different about playing the Bronx Bombers, especially at the Rogers Center, which has kind of been their house of horrors a little bit this season, which is a nice thing to say, especially when, the Tropicana or just whatever the Rays are playing is normally our house of horrors. So we give a little bit of a hat tip, I guess, to the Rays while we're beating up on the New York Yankees. But a big game here, Cam Schlittler versus Max Scherzer on the mound. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a game that, like I said in the last podcast, that goes for the over totals. I think there is going to be a lot of runs in this baseball game, which probably does benefit us when we're going to be doing the 999 challenge. Gives us a little bit more time to fire down some hot dogs if we even are able to finish them all off. And then you got Max Fried in game 3. I know the Toronto Blue Jays did good against him in the last start. But Max Fried is a very good pitcher. He's one of the best lefties in all of baseball. So as much as I would not love chalking it up to that game, I still think Toronto Blue Jays can win that third game. I would be a lot more comfortable, beating up on Cam Schlittler than Max Fried. But you got to trust this offense again, whether it's against Max Fried or whether it's against Patrick Corbin, whether it's against, Tanner. I don't care who it is. Tanner Roark is the one I was looking for, the old Toronto Blue Jay. But just Toronto Blue Jays have been beaten up on whoever is in front of them. So I hope that can continue, especially when we are on live with you guys for the first time in a little bit. We've had taken a little bit of a hiatus from the live streams, but now we're ready to get back into full fruition, especially with the trade deadline coming up. We're excited to go live as much as possible and as much as Toronto Blue Jays let us in this trade deadline week.
Yeah, and I just want to go over some of the games that happened or I guess as you guys listened to this last night, some big series. The Detroit Tigers do lose 3-0 to Pittsburgh. Boston loses 3-2.
Game back in the American League.
That's right. And Carter, I mean, I got to give some time here to talk about the Boston and the Phillies game and how that ended. Oh my God. If that was the Blue Jays losing that game, I would have had no hair left because I would have pulled it all out.
I mean, Alejandro Kirk he's not that dumb. He just wouldn't do it. Like Alejandro Kirk knows where to stand in the box. Carlos Narvaez did that when George Springer was playing against him, obviously. And when the Toronto Blue Jays were playing the Red Sox last time, did have a few catcher's interferences in that game as well. Guess not learning from his mistakes. So it's just a funny way to lose a baseball game. First time I saw this from a couple stats. I don't have it in front of me, but I saw it a million times on Twitter. So I hope this is right. But since 1971, that was the last time that there was a walk-off on a catcher's interference. So it has been a little while, obviously, since that has happened. It's even funnier that it did happen to the Boston Red Sox, but helps the Toronto Blue Jays out a lot. It's a very good day from the Blue Jays. The Rays get absolutely annihilated by the White Sox. Last time I checked, it was the 8th inning, and it was 8-3, assuming that they're not going to come back and win that game. Red Sox lose, Yankees lose. I'm not sure if the Orioles were in action. Who cares? I'm pretty sure they played earlier today.
Yeah, they lost too.
Well, there you go. Perfect day for the Toronto Blue Jays here in the American League. The Tigers lose as well. All you did is gain ground. You absolutely love to see it. Hopefully they can continue to gain ground and win the season series. Can't believe we're saying that already when there's still 5 games left against the New York Yankees, but have an opportunity to win the season series against them. Take advantage. Time to absolutely put them in the dirt.
Yeah, as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to the podcast. We'll be back with you later today. As you guys listen to this, we are going live right from first pitch. Me and Carter will be trying to dummy as many hot dogs as humanly possible and, slide down a couple beers too. But we'll see how that goes. If you guys want to see us in a ton of pain and see then the aftermath, as we always usually record the episodes late at night on the day before. So we'll see how we look or feel or sound on the Wednesday episode of the podcast. So a lot of Locked On Blue Jays content coming for you guys, and we hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll be looking for your comments, your opinions, telling us how you guys think of the game throughout the game later today. We always look forward to that. Again, Carter, anything more from you before we kick out of here?
Looking forward to the baseball tonight. Not necessarily looking forward to the challenge, but like Brayden said, if you guys, whether you want to see us do the 999 challenge or just want, come hang out, talk to us, ask us some questions, ask us how the day's been, and just watch the Toronto Blue Jays absolutely beat up on the New York Yankees. We would love whoever wants to come and join us for that. Keep us a little bit of company as we do watch one of, again, the biggest series that the Toronto Blue Jays will play this season. Let's put the Yankees to bed and let's just have a day on a Tuesday, believe it or not, and see how we do feel on the Wednesday. Doesn't matter how many beers I have, the Toronto Blue Jays win. I think I'll feel pretty good no matter what on that Wednesday morning. Just want to say thank you guys for watching one more time, and we will talk to you guys on the live stream.